Want to help somebody. I cannot afford to be the Christian. Lord, that's my request. Please help me to help somebody. Poor people are vulnerable. Most of us have been used and abused. To survive and stay alive, we have to face now torture and scorn. Hello, good morning, and welcome to Behind the Badge. And of course, by now you should know that this is a program of the RGPF where we feature police officers and other community groups as well as government organization. And our intention is to provide you with information on pertinent issues, be it law enforcement or issues that affect us as a country. And this morning, I feel very privileged to be filling in for my colleague, Corporal Mitchell. And of course, I will take that moment to just send her some greetings and wish that she's having a very awesome day. It's a little while since you heard a voice, I know. And yes, I am back this morning, Corporal 255 Lewis, resident of Shantimel, son of the soil. And I'm so pleased this morning. We are featuring a very, very, very special unit. No, they are not police officers. But even more, I'm excited that I'm speaking to somebody from my village. So that little extra cherry on top of the cake have me all elated inside. I'm smiling and I'm happy. And I'm going to give that person an opportunity to introduce themselves and where they work.
Okay, so good morning, Renita. I'm Junior Officer Castillo Joseph from His Majesty's Prison, and today I'll be here along with my colleague, and we'll just be sharing some light as relates to the prison, bridging the gap between the prison and the public, and also to create awareness as to what we actually do at the prison and what we actually are.
And I glad to hear you say that, bridging the gap. Because as a nation, you know that we're filling gaps. And sometimes where we're supposed to put stone, we might be filling in some sand, and then we might throw a bucket of water. So it's very, very important at times to get official information. Now, His Majesty's prison. When we think of prison, I guess what comes to mind is incarceration, taking somebody freedom and so. But I know that that whole prison system, it is much more than that.
Yes, it is. So the prison was originally built as a military hospital that was in the 1800s, but soon after it was transitioned to an actual prison. It was mainly made to house about 200 persons, but as we see that imprisonment has become our sole form of punishment within the community or within Grenada in a scope, we see that the whole dynamics have shifted and the population is now more than what the building was originally made to house. So the prison, the whole mission is to provide a safe and secure environment using enhanced technical and also prison management as well within the states of Grenada. As my colleague would have said, when persons think about a prison, they mainly think about incarceration, but the prison is more also about to protect, secure, and the main pillar is to rehabilitate. Rehabilitate in the sense to have persons reintegrated back into society because before they came to prison, these are persons that the society deemed as not being fit to be around the normal population. So the whole idea of coming to prison is a punishment, but at the same time as well, is to make them better so that when they are reintroduced back into society, they can be better citizens. Taking into the form of the whole vision of the department, which is to be the model of penal reform within the Caribbean. The model in a sense that persons can project and persons can look at as a means of taking a mark as this is what Grenada prison is doing. Because the environment at the prison is relatively safe. The staff and the inmate, there is a good sort of a relationship. So very rarely we have any form of massive violence or we have any form of escaping and so as the case may be at the prison. All right, so I'm glad that you mentioned that the goal is not just to house persons,
but to make them better. Now, I know that there might be, somebody listening to the program this morning that has maybe a son or even a daughter at the prison. And as you say, there would have been a period of time in that person's life where they were exhibiting antisocial behavior. And it reached to the point where our judicial system would have made a decision that person or persons should be housed at His Majesty's prison. But hearing you say that, we not just want to house persons at the prison, but we want to help them that when they finish serve their time, they can be reintroduced to the society and be contributors. Now, having said that, my next question naturally would be what sort of programs that you have in place to facilitate that?
Okay, so under the rehabilitation structure, we have the skills part, we have the academic part, we have religion, we have sports, we have counseling. Under the skills part, the prison industry plays a critical role that is in providing skills in the area of farming, block making, carpentry, garage, we have the bakery. Because even some of the inmates that when they do leave prison, even before they leave, we have persons from bakeries and so sorry, they are making contact to have the persons coming to work in their bakery when they do get all day. We have the academic part because we not to say that there are persons within the department that they don't have the basic reading and writing skills, right? So basic literacy is offered to them at the prison to help in that aspect as well. We have persons who do CXC subjects as well is being offered, and all the courses are being taught by inmates, and there are other external teachers within the prison that teach these CXC subjects. And so we also have recently a CDQ being taught in construction at the level 2 stage, and we also have programs with the Ministry of Youth, what we call Empower program that work along. It's mainly centered around the male population because we see at the prison the male population is critically higher than the female population. So this program is really giving men a second chance to go out there and make something of themselves within society.
Yes, and I'm so pleased that sometimes it feels that as a society we forget about our men. And yes, there are those that does not do the right thing, and we give them that big label and then we cast them aside. And obviously, as a country, if you want to be successful and you want to achieve great things, you must be able to provide for your men and give them that second chance. And at this time, I'm just going to pause a little bit to just take in some information from management. That's my request. Please help me to help somebody. The rich man never look back. On the door to his heart there is a padlock. With Mr. Greeding from the door, making sure there is no entrance for the poor. If I were rich, I would have done lots of nice things. The hurricanes we had, I would fix for people's yard. These are the people who need the most attention. I never take a rest until I know that they find some happiness, Lord. If I could, I want to help somebody. I cannot let my people perish, Lord. That's my request. Help me to help somebody. It's not easy when you ain't got that money. You have no way to sleep and you got nothing to eat. Lord, oh Lord, I want to help somebody. I cannot afford to be licorice, Lord. That's my request. Please help me to help somebody. Yes, and welcome back to Behind the Badge. We did pause for a minute or so And I could assure you it was for good reason because when we started, of course, we started with our female officer from His Majesty's prison. And I didn't say it to you because I kept it in the bag, wanted to give you a little treat. But this morning she is joined by a male companion, and I'm giving the opportunity to introduce himself to the wonderful listeners of the Real 91.9 FM.
Yeah, good morning. I'm Christopher Strode. I'm a social worker at His Majesty's Prisons.
All right. So this morning we started off on that very important note, focusing on the fact that the prison is not just the place where we house persons who have committed crimes, but there is this active and intentional commitment to make persons better.
Yeah.
And hearing that we have a social
Okay.
worker attached to the prison, it gives now impetus and weight to what was said earlier. And I'm glad that you're coming because there is an area that I want to dive into next, and that is recidivism
Okay.
and the rate of persons coming back to the prison after they go through the whole program or so.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's start with that and let's look at what the prison is doing to curb that.
Okay. Um, well, I don't know if Ms. Joseph said it already, but we have three main areas, pillars. We have the security, we have industry, and we have rehab. And rehab is the one that we focus a lot in terms of trying to reform the persons who come to His Majesty's prison. And so we have different rehabilitation programs. So we have a matter of fact, jointly with the Ministry of Youth, we have the Empower program. And right now we're looking to certify 17 persons in both one set of guys doing facilities maintenance, the other AC and refrigeration. So we have that area going. Then we have the education program. We have other skills. We have the industry where the guys they work on the farm, the bakery, the blocks plant, the construction, the carpenter shop. So it's a range of programs
Yes.
that we have.
All right. So your colleague did mention some of those things. I want to share a little testimony with you. There is an individual. We grew up together. I think he might be just a year younger than me or so, or we might be similar age. And he had some issues as a young man, going in and out of prison. And I remember I come from a religious background, so I reached out to him on that note.
Yes.
And he give it a try, but then I asked for him and I heard that he went back to prison. And I felt some level of disappointment, I must say. And then I noticed that he came out after that. And then what I saw, some entrepreneurial activity from him. And since that particular time, this individual that I'm speaking about have not been back to prison. So I want to say to you that what you are suggesting this morning, what you are saying, from my small sample size, I can say that it works and it bears a lot of fruits.
Yes. As a matter of fact, in addition to recidivism, when we look at most of the guys who come up, they don't have skills. And that's the main problem. So imagine in a society how they live, you don't have a skill. Many of them end up to stealing. And when they leave, the same thing. But when we look at the statistics, those who are involved in the rehab program, about 78% or more don't return. Whereas for those who are not involved with any one of those programs, about 70% of them return.
Right.
And in case of those who are in the rehab, even when some of them come back, they come back and they spend shorter time than they would have normally, and then they stay out longer. So it is working.
All right. So I'm glad to hear you say that. I want to pose a question to you. Now, I'm not certain as to the structure that you have up there, but all the programs that you offer, is it voluntary or can the court mandate that some persons attend some of the programs?
Right, it's both voluntary and the court as well can mandate that some persons attend programs that is offered. And when the court gives that mandate, persons, this can help in their sentencing as well. So based on how actively involved that they are, the court can ask the prison to to present a report as to their performance within the program, they would have mandatorily asked them to do, and this can be taken into consideration when sentencing. On the voluntary side, if the court doesn't hand down a mandate, then the persons that are there, they are not forced. You are given, it is presented to you, you can give the opportunity, you can take or not take. But it is the hope of the department that every person be involved, because as I said before, the prison, it used to be mainly about security, but we see the rehabilitative aspect, it has become a big pillar of the prison. Because if you remember, gone are the days, it used to be like turnkeys, meaning you put in, you lock up. But we see that rehabilitation now has become a big thing. Mr. Shaw would have spoken about the recidivism rate, and he would have mentioned that persons who are a part of the rehab program, we see that there's lesser the sentencing, or the time spent is becoming lesser, and then we see that eventually they don't come back to prison probably for a very long time.
You know, we present the information out there, and I think that's a very good point for us to just pivot for a bit and speak to the public. Now, many of us would know somebody, sometimes it's a family member we may have up at the prison. And I think that's an opportunity for us to really, really just take in the information, speak to our loved ones. Being in prison, yes, you are in the prison, but as we say, an opportunity is now presented for you to gain new skills, to be able to come outside, and then you have something that person's going to want. You did mention, Miss Joseph, that there are companies that will pursue some of the persons that coming out that would have acquired the skill sets and everything there. So we're seeing it's not just we saying something, but there is evidence of that working. So take the opportunity to really encourage some persons at the outside to speak to their loved ones who may not be participating in the programs.
Okay, so to those of you parents, brother, sister, whoever it may be, and you may have a relative that is currently at the prison, sometimes it can be based on a fault of theirs, no fault of theirs. Like we say, bad company. You know, friends bring you go, they don't bring you back. But I would encourage most of you that when you do come in to visit your family, encourage them to take part in a skills program. You know, encourage them to spend their time wisely, because a lot of time we can say, you know, sometimes the idle hands can become the devil's workshop. So you're there at the prison, there is an opportunity that you can say, hey, you know what, I've been reformed, I'm a changed man, I'm willing to make a difference. And so I think on that level that you should encourage them to be a part of the prison, take part. Don't only sit, okay, well, the judge sent me here to serve my time and that is it. Be actively engaged, because many can tell you that being a part of the program, it's a good way to pass their time. You know, it makes the sentencing less harsher, because most of the days you can get the opportunity, you know, to be actively outside, or you can, you know, and all of this too. We cannot take for granted that how sometimes the space, you know, being in a space mentally can affect persons. So when you are part of the rehabilitative program, it's a way to channel off. It's a way to defrost from the whole environment of just being locked up or just being told, okay, that you're at that point today. But when you're in the rehabilitation program, it's a way of a cushioning to spend your time at the prison. So on that level, family, friends, I will encourage you to have them participate in that rehabilitative program. When they come out, hey, there can be an opportunity for employment.
You know, this is a real learning opportunity and experience for me this morning, because I think stereotype that I personally held of the prison is being shattered through our conversations this morning. Because I think I was still locked into that frame that persons just go to prison and they just lock up. And I really didn't know that there was this entire curriculum established to help persons to be able to get on their feet. I want to focus on the religious side because you know that's my background, as I say, and I believe that having a sense a relationship with God, it's something that can really add personal strength. So speak a little bit on that.
So we have religious programs. Not only, well, you have church services on Saturdays and on Sundays. Different denomination, they come in and they hold religious services. And from time to time, there are Bible studies also. And that is an integral part of the whole rehabilitation process. Because your point is, and it's true, without that value system, a lot of persons, let me give a practical example. Some time ago when we started one of the programs, that was the Project Reach, where we targeted the guys for the skills training. And in that program, what we did was not only the skills training, but for the first 3 months, we did the life skills, we did the religious, but we didn't call it the religious, it was more or less where at the religious side of it. But what they did is you gave the different denominations the opportunity to come in and speak on different issues. So like what is love, what is covetousness, and those issues. So forgiveness. So they spoke to those issues in relation to the guys, and that helped a lot in terms of the program. Many of the guys who were in that program, because of that all-roundedness, you had the religious, you had the counseling, you had the academics, and because of those things, they help a lot of the guys to check themselves. There was a case of one guy, he had been in a jail, in and out of jail since he was 13 years, and he got involved in the program. And it was while he was in the life skills section and the religious one, particularly when he was looking at the issue, they were dealing with the issue of covetousness. And he was like, wait, now that's my problem. And he has been out for the last 10 years. And there's a man every 6 months he used to be in jail. As a matter of fact, when he left with the books we used for the literacy program because he said he needed that. He had nieces and nephews outside that he wanted to help in terms of their academic because of his experience in jail.
Yeah, I feel that moment. You make the hair on my hands just stand up with that. When we started, Ms. Joseph, you mentioned that it is the vision of His Majesty's prison to be the gem when it comes to penal reform within the Caribbean. And I believe that having that big vision, it will cause you to focus on those things. Speak a little bit about that, more about that vision, because that I think that is quite inspiring.
Okay, so just one example, sometimes when we have like external stakeholders come to the prison, oftentimes they are marvel at to the fact that hey, that we can freely walk through compared to other prison where persons may feel that they may need a bit of more reinforcement to be able to move around or to be able to if you even if you want to do a side visit. But at the prison that there is a sort of a safety that persons there's not a serious threat, if I should say, or persons don't feel seriously threatened for their life. That is by walking through the prison as compared to other Caribbean islands or on an international body. And these are some of the feedbacks that when persons do come to visit, you get that sort of a comments. You get that sort of a, so I think that that is one aspect that shows that we are on the way to be the model of penal reform and even to the rehabilitative aspect as well as to what the prison is offering again. All of this is a contributing factor towards being that model again. During periods there were times when persons from different Caribbean islands they came and they were housed at the prison, and their temperament from being housed there compared to their temperament with coming from their original country, it was totally different. So I would want to believe and say that there is something that we are not there completely, but I would say that we are on the road to being that model, to being that image that everyone can take a page out of His Majesty's Prison Grenada book to see what is being done differently. What can we do? How can we improve to get that sort of that close niche, that close environment, taking away from the facts, and then persons might say, "Oh, that it's a hotel," or we hear that negative comments from the public. But it's more than just a hotel. I would say the prison cannot help that it has the best view. We are on a hill, so when you look down, you see everything.
I think you would point to that 100.
Yeah, so we are there. But when persons do come in, sometimes you may not see someone for a long time, and persons might be like, I thought this person was overseas, because when they come out, they look so well. They are well rested. Away from, some of them are seriously addicted to drugs and to other things. And this place, I'm not saying that it's a place that they should be, but it's like a safe haven to some persons, helping to get them off the street and get away from the use of drugs, that the body get a chance to rest and to detox and so.
Yeah, I believe that old stereotype belief of, persons being up there and they should have a hard life and they should suffer. I think as a country, we have grown from that. And the most important thing that we have to take into consideration here is that we are speaking about people.
you're speaking about people, and the thing about it is that, listen, we have a choice. We could decide that you want to keep punishing a person, but that is not the responsibility of the prison. The court does the punishment, they send them as part of the punishment. That's being in prison. Now, or we know that these guys, majority of persons, will leave the prison. What do we want? What type of persons do we want back in the society? Persons who are hostile because of the way they were treated, or persons who are changed and given skills so that when they reach outside, they could be incorporated into society. I think it's the latter that we need. And therefore, how that is done is based on the treatment and how we focus their minds and how we prepare them to be incorporated in the society.
On this note, I really like to just pause and just really, really, just thank the management of the prison for having that as a mindset to focus on the development of our citizens. You can't get away from the fact that every single inmate up there, except for those that come from the outside countries, we are speaking about our citizens. And even to the outside one, we are charged to be our brother's keeper. How you treat people could have a major effect upon that person assimilating to what you're trying to teach them. If you're going to use the big stick all the time, I think that person going to hate you.
Yeah.
They're going to hate what you're offering, and then we put an angry person to come back into society. And if we're speaking about the rate of recidivism, that is a person that is more likely to repeat themselves there.
That's true.
And I really like that. I want to go into an area because, of course, we're still speaking about the prison. Now, I have all the wonderful things that you're doing on the inside. I know that for loved ones, persons on the outside, you have family members within the prison. And sometimes you just want to communicate with them, whether it's the right channel, whether it's the wrong channel. And you will get persons that may put demands upon you to bring certain communication elements into the prison. But I know that the prison have rules and there will always be those things that are prohibited. So can we go a little bit into that?
Okay, so as it relates to, just to answer the first part of your question, in relation to communicating with your loved ones at the prison. So right, so the persons that are housed there, as are the inmates, they are allowed to call, they make phone calls to their families on the outside where they can stay in touch. They can send a pass to come in to have them visit and stuff. Persons who have families on the international or regional level, they are allowed to call in at the prison, mainly international regional, just to be specific. You're allowed to call in to visit your family. But for the local, your family member at the prison will call you and not you calling to have a conversation with them. So on the international regional side, you call in, you announce your who you are, because again, we are rehabilitation, but we are safety as well. So we would ask you to disclose your identity and what is your purpose and your relation for calling that inmate, right? So when you do make that phone call from an international regional standpoint, then the inmate will be contacted to second that identification that, hey, do you know that person? Do you want to speak to that person as well? Because even though you're calling, what if even though you're more than that individual doesn't want to speak to you? Right, so they will be asked if they want to have the phone call, and the phone call will be provided for, and that person, they can dialogue with their families. In terms of physically visiting your family member, we have the visit unit, right, at the prison, where inmates can send a pass to their family members and so, and they can come in to visit them at the prison. So just for the public that is listening, the visit operates on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Tuesday and Thursday being from 9 to 3, and on Saturday from 9 to 12. So as I said, your family can send a pass to you, come and visit. We know that there is a bit of a slowness in the mailing service, so we know sometimes the mails may not get as quickly as, right? But once that family member of yours would have contacted you that they want to come in to see you, there is a list that the prison generates. So your name, when you do come in, your name will be checked and verified that if indeed that individual would have sent you a pass to come in to visit. There are periods that we call open visits, especially around the carnival and the Christmas time when family members, because we know there are a lot of persons that may be coming international, regional, that wants to see their families and so. So this period is open, and we know that a lot of times schools are on holidays, and taking note of that there are persons who have their kids that are going to school. So we have that aspect that is open to them, that anybody can come in. But to do that during that period, you must have a form of identification to come in to see that individual. There are special visits that is organized as well that can be randomly within the day, because there are some inmates that we consider to be special, and we don't put them a part of the normal visiting time. Whether it's a lawyer that wants to meet with a client, or a social worker, or probation officer, or even a family member as well wants to specially see that inmate. So we do operate that special aspect, because again, rehabilitation, all of this is part and parcel of the rehabilitation process. That you are locked up, but you still have a life. You're still allowed. You still have that right or that privilege given to you to have a visit with your family member. Privilege that it can be taken away from you, meaning that whenever you have committed an offense, that this aspect can be taken away from you.
Well, I like the fact that, yes, it's a control facility. There is order, there is process. And if persons deviate from the process, then there is obvious consequence as well.
Yeah.
I really wanted you to speak on the cell phone issue, because I know that that's a prohibited item. Now, obviously, there may be inmates that may put demands upon the family to bring things. And I want you to speak about that particular offense for both the inmate who is expected to receive and the person who is trying to bring in a prohibited item into the prison.
Let me speak to that one. As Judith was making a point this morning, when she spoke about getting these calls and inmates calling, we're speaking here about the legal process that we have.
Yeah.
So an inmate who wants to speak to their family could go to the chief office, go to the reception, or go rehabilitation, where they will be allowed to get a call to speak to their family. What we're doing, a matter of fact, the decision was already taken to set up a phone system within the prison, where inmates' families will be able to make payments, and they'll be able to make calls to their family. All right. Now, in relation to the legal cell phone, like just like in any other place in prison in the world, you always have those things happening. And even in terms of that's a contraband and that's illegal. And you're not supposed to. Families, because we know that happens. People, their family members, will put pressure on them to send money to different phones so that they'll be able to make calls. That's illegal. As a matter of fact, just this morning before I left, somebody tried to drop off some drugs, and they were caught. They were doing a patrol. Yeah, the officer was doing a patrol, and he heard the grass moving. That's after 7 months speaking about. He looked over, he saw the guy, and the guy threw himself off the cliff down, and the officers were there. They took together some of the recruits. They surrounded him, they went up the hill, they caught the guy, CID, and they caught him with marijuana and a whole set of stuff. All right, so you have these illegal activities taking place, and that's where, through that, phones and drugs and things are confiscated as a result. You want to remind the public that it is illegal to get involved in those things. Don't encourage your family member, call you and tell you to send money for phone. And don't do that. Don't do that, because you're exposing yourself to danger.
Yeah, and I know, being in the control facility, especially as it relates to security, there is not just a danger for inmates, but also the officers that provide that level of rehabilitation, the training, and being responsible for the persons that are in there. You are endangering their safety as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I hope, if you are tuning in for the first time, I want you to know that you are listening to Behind the Badge. Corporal Lewis in the hot chair this morning, and we have members from the prison. And I want you to know that today's conversation has been really, really eye-opening and educational. We have discussed a lot of things thus far. Last little bit of information, we were chopping up a little bit We spoke of the fact that there are persons that may put demand upon you to bring illegal items in the prison. That's a no-no. That's an offense, one that can result in consequences to the inmate as well as you, the person that failed to adhere to the commands that we are giving to you this morning. So take that, note it, and I hope that will impact the type of decisions that you make. I want to look at something. You mentioned the sports element because we talk a lot of things, and I know that is one of the big things there. I believe when there is carnival and all those things there, and I really like the fact that the prison really focus on the fact that there are human beings there and they need to have that social experience, and you are providing that. Yes, there is the control element, there is all the programs, but you're not moving away from the person and helping the person. So let's speak about the sporting activities and so and let the public know what that type of activities really do for inmates.
Right now, we're in the middle of the football competition where different landings are participating. So you have officers and inmates making up the different teams for the football competition. We have cricket competition, we have athletics, and those things are important because what they help to do is one in terms of relieving stress. Because imagine you're having 390 men in one location, small location that was built to just house maybe 150 persons. So if we don't have those outlets, then you could have situation where there are violence and upheaval and those things. And so because of these activities are created, it has reduced some of the stress. Also, it helps in terms of teamwork, right? Preparing them when they go outside to how to operate as team, because when you get into construction or different areas, you have to work as a team. And also helping in terms of conflict resolution, because in a match you can have some little scuffle and those things, how to resolve those issues. So apart from the stress management part of it, it helps in terms of helping in terms of dealing with conflict resolution.
I want to ask a question as it relates to the development of prison officers. I know that we offer a lot for the inmates, but what about your prison officers in terms of educational opportunities?
Okay, well, we do have in-house hands-on training. That is through our training officer, where officers are offered the skills that is needed to operate within a prison setting. But we do have persons as well who want to do their own personal external studies as well. We have persons who would have completed and attempted St. George's University. Me being one of the persons, we have persons on board who are currently going to St. George's University. We have persons who would have completed CVQ level as well in training. We also have persons at TAMCC level who would have completed studies. We have persons at the CXC level who would have done additional CXCs, and so as the case may be. Because apart from the internal aspect of training, they may have other areas of interest. So the discretion is given that persons can attend classes during their work hours. That is between the commissioner of prison, the chief office, and the officer. They can determine the time that the officer gets away from his job to be able to attend classes, and so that is external from the prison. So for the internal part, we have had courses offered like in mental health. We have refreshers in diary duties, security duties. We also have other soft skills that is taught as well in areas of leadership. Even currently, we have persons in training, and these persons would have been trained, what we call train the trainer, to be able to teach persons that are coming under our recruitment process. So, and along with the CVQ that I mentioned on the training and development, all of this was geared towards training our officers to be able to train persons. So we see that there is a pattern of knowledge and skill that we are getting the prison in a place where officers, we can train our own.
And you also have, apart from the academic, you have the career areas. So, for example, you have officers doing training with RSS or the Americans when they come down in
Yeah.
SSU and those things.
I'm
So we have
aware,
that
yeah,
also.
of the cross-border trainings.
Yes.
Because I think I participated in some of them with prison officers as well.
And it's a really good relationship that HMP has with RGPF in terms of training and those sort of things.
Yeah. I like that you spoke on those things because it brings me to the next area. A young person listening to this program this morning, maybe a mother, maybe a father that have a son or a daughter, and they're thinking, how can my child get an opportunity to become a prison officer? Can you speak about that process?
Right. So currently as it stands now, we do have 55 new officers, mainly males that is a part of the training process currently at the prison. But to become a prison officer, we are under the Public Service Commission and the qualities that is needed. So it's 5 CXC subjects, including English. This is also a criteria to become a public servant as well. And this is also a criteria to become a prison officer as well. So you can apply, you can send your application to and address it to the commissioner of prisons, and you can drop it off at His Majesty's Prison. You can also use email as well to send in your different CVs and so to apply to become a prison officer. Once you would have completed that process, then there is a process where you'll be the different applicants will be selected. You'll be vetted because we have that partnership with the RGPF where persons will be vetted. You'll also be asked to present a character report as well, because to become a prison officer, we do want to know that you're a person of a good character and so on. And once this process have been completed, then you have the interview phase where persons will be calling. There will be a panel of different interviewers who will be calling and ask questions as relates to being a prison officer and probably other questions that is outside of being a prison officer as well. And once you would have completed that process, you will be graded and scored, and persons will be selected from the high schools in terms taking into consideration your interview aspect, the vetting process, and also your character report as well. And the selection will be made. And once you are selected to become a prison officer, then you will be contacted and you will ask to be reported to the department to do the necessaries as to get you into the system of becoming a prison officer.
And there you go. Listen in public. Character is one of the important factors that they are looking at. And oftentimes, when I'm hosting this program, I take that extra second to really speak to our young people. And I say, be careful of the things that you do, the things that you say, the way you conduct yourself. Because you might be quite young, 17, 18, 15, 16, and being so young, being so careless, being so free, you take that opportunity to do all kinds of things. But then there is the serious aspect of your life. 19, 20, you're thinking about a career, you're thinking about a future. And something that you've done in your season of silliness could be a simple, serious compromise to you as you get older. So it's very important that you carry yourself with a level of respect. You carry yourself with a level of uprightness. There's a particular scripture that I really like, where Paul challenges us. He said, whatsoever things that are true, things that are upright.
Yeah.
He said, these are the things you should pursue and focus on. And, sometimes young people come and they will be crying and they want you to just take away everything that they have done and just wipe the slate clean. And a lot of times it's not possible. Mm-hmm. That's why we have programs like these and we speak to our young people. We speak and we say, carry yourself respectfully.
And that's where the issue of social media is important. Because of the nature of the work in corrections, what you post on social media will be taken into consideration. Because remember now, you coming to work in the prison, working on persons, trying to rehabilitate persons, you try as much as possible to have persons with a particular, as Officer was pointing this one, particular character. And therefore, you might see certain things on the social media, which when you're looking and you're vetting and you're checking, you realize, no, you don't need a person like that to be working in the prison at this particular time.
To add to what you're saying, this is not even unique to the prison. The police also look at that certain character aspect. We look at your social media history. And I know of a number of companies within the private sector that does the same thing. Now, when you're offering up yourself to be part of an organization, that organization want to know who they are recruiting. They have that character and that they can fit into their organization seamlessly. Now, if you're this person and you is a set of threats of violence, you're posting a set of gun on, so nobody would want you in the organization. And I understand, yes, you might be young at that point in time, you're not thinking serious or so. But you know what? There is no substitution for somebody being level-headed. Sometimes we think that all silliness, we should just give it a pass, but that is not always the reality. So I take the opportunity to sound a little bit serious. I've been sounding a little bit jovial, but it's important our young people, parents, encourage your children to do the right thing. Not when they want a right opportunity, but encourage them to be consistently upright and right. So I was very pleased with our discussion. I noticed we have about 8 minutes. 8 minutes could go quite quick. I'm going to give you at that time. There might be some points that probably I left out that you might want the public to know as it relates to His Majesty's Prison and the activities and programs that you're offering there.
One of the things that has been holding us back a lot. One has been the issue of personnel, but it is being fixed with the recruitment of the new officers. The other one is a new prison, and that's something the government is working on.
Yeah, I think I saw a news clip where that was,
and it's critical because the prison that we have is old, is ancient, is 1880, was a military hospital. And in terms of the facilities, in terms of the cells, those things are, and because of the number of persons, it is not possible to be able to classify the persons properly. So whereas you should have remand by themselves, and because the smallness of this, sometimes you have a lot of mixing that you shouldn't have. And with a new prison, it will make it much easier in terms of doing the classification better. And in terms of expansion, a lot of the education and skills training work, a lot more will be able to be done as a result of that.
Yes, and I think that's a critical point that we cannot overlook. There is a law in business that we call the law of diminishing returns.
Yes.
And there is so much you can do when you have a fixed factor. There is a time where doesn't matter how much more you throw at it, it just does not make sense anymore. So that's something, yes, it's the uncomfortable truth, but it is the truth that we have to face. And I think we are at that level. Because when we started, I think Ms. Joseph said that originally the building was constructed to house between 150 to 200. And I'm sure you're way past that now.
And it has time, it has reached 500.
Yeah, it was a time we had 523. That was the highest we ever had.
So I think that we reached the limit, and I'm glad that government is focusing on it. I pray that the necessary impetus be upon them, and that we really need to move in that direction, because what we have at stake, we have a lot of our young men going to prison.
Too many.
And if we fail to rehabilitate those young men, imagine of a small country, 100 and something thousand persons, and then you have persons coming back out there and they beat and they are and things. The effects, more work for law enforcement, persons can't feel safe in their home and everything.
The effect on the economy as a result of crime. So, and therefore that's why the focus has been. And a matter of fact, as Mr. Jules was saying earlier on, even in terms of the code, the involvement of the code has, in terms of a lot of sentences now, what they do, they attach conditions to these sentences. So they look, especially the young people, in terms of where the education is, so they mandate, they make it mandatory that they go skills training, that they do maths, they do English, they do the counseling, they do anger management. So they could look at the person as a whole and try to make sure that the persons, when they leave, at least they have those things, that they have a better chance of remaining outside and be employable citizens.
Yes, and something that I noticed too, somebody who comes from the prison system, if they're outside And let's say that person have been rehabilitated and they're running a business. They
Yeah.
tend to be more sympathetic to others
Yes.
that might be in their position.
Yeah.
So now they become now an umbrella and a beacon of light for many others.
Mhm.
And all that give credence to the program.
Mhm.
But I must say,
But there's
Just-
one thing one thing I want to plug in here. We are really grateful to a lot of the corporate citizens and the organizations that have really assisted the prison with the education program for prizes for they have really, really helped. And even recently, there was a businessman who came in to do some work for us, and he said he's willing to provide training. And then recently, a matter of fact, another business place say, look, they want to partner with the prison to start making certain furniture, and they are prepared to share. So we have business persons who are prepared to help. Because what everybody should come to realize is that the more we involve our young people in the prison and get them, employable, give them employable skills, and when they come outside, provide them with employment when they could, it is a better, it would better impact on the society as a whole.
Yes, and I'm glad you said that. I remember a time I was looking at a program on biogas.
Yes,
And
yes,
it was a program that implemented to the prison.
yes.
And then shortly after that, I get the opportunity to tour a biogas facility. And I was speaking, I said a technical thing. So the man turned around and he watched me. He said, "Oh, you know so much of those things." And I said to him, the prison had this documentary
Yeah.
and GIS.
Yes, yes.
And I was able to glean so much from it.
Mhm.
And giving, our young persons those skill sets, even those on the farm.
Mhm.
I'm in the poultry business.
Yeah.
And I must say that I do envy prison when it comes to the poultry and the
She could
everything.
speak, she's an industry person, she could speak to that
Yeah,
in
so
terms of what
I
we have.
like those things
Mhm.
because you see the impact that will have on a young person coming outside there. If nobody is giving him a job,
Mhm.
his family may have a piece of land.
Yes.
He can do something for himself.
As a matter of fact, the Empower program, we have, as a matter of fact, there are 3 guys who are out now, because many of them are still inside. And right now, they have gotten the grants. So I'm waiting for the business places to call me, so that to get the equipment and thing that they need, so that once I get it, I could call them for them to get the equipment. So it's $3,000 grant. Where they get, whether it's in agriculture, so they get the weed eater, they get the blower, those
So you
kind of things.
do after prison support as well.
Yeah, so that's part of the Empower program. The Empower program, they give the training and then they give the grant, the $3,000 grant. And that's right. So up to this point, a guy be called me. As the money comes through, I say, as soon as I get a call, I'm going to get the equipment and then I will call you and hand over to you.
I believe some other prison commissioner might be listening to that program this morning and saying, what they're doing in this little island down there. Somebody is getting it right. Let me call up commissioner and speak to him. I really thank you for appearing on the program this morning. I think our public would be enlightened by what is being done at the prison. For many years, persons had concern that we just sending in people in the prison and they're just coming back outside and there is no change.
No, that's not so.
But just listening to the extensive efforts and commitments that is being made by commissioner and the prison officers,
Good
as
staff.
well as government
Staff.
coming in and everything there, or corporate citizen.
Yeah.
It's a nice mix. It tells me that we are concerned about our young people in helping them and helping them to be part in a meaningful way as it relates to contributing to the society. So on behalf of commissioner of the RGPF, my inspector in charge of my department, community relations, woman inspector John, I really thank you for coming here this morning as well. Thank you again, my fellow Chantimelian. I love the growth, I love the maturity and the everything there, and you impressed me quite
No,
well.
she's a very good officer.
You impressed me quite well.
Very good officer.
I think it's something about Chantimel. I don't know. Maybe it's the
I
water
think
we're
so too.
drinking out there. We have a history of
Yes.
producing good police officers, good prison
Yes.
officers, and we continue to do that. And it speaks well about the village. Chantimel, I'm saying hello to you this morning again, to all the wonderful people up there. You know, it's nice when your sons and your daughters can rise to position, you know, where we can be beacon of light in the society. So again, thank you for appearing on the
Yeah,
program.
and thank you
Thank
for
you so
inviting
much.
us.
Thank
We
you.
You're
appreciate it.
welcome.
Yes.
Thank you.
I know I need help for myself, but Lord, that's my request. Please help me to help somebody. They say it's the business bad. There are other people's business at worse. They complaining things are hard. Other people who are harder than hard. Oh, how I wish people's life would just switch around from poor to being rich and rich to being poor. Cause most of them never know how life stinks down below. They never